This is a constitutional crisis that we are in today.
Just like Elon Musk did not create USAID, he doesn't have the power to destroy it. And who's going to stop him? We are.
This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like.
Angry Democrats throwing a hissy fit after Elon Musk dropped the DOGE hammer on the Hunter Biden of government agencies. It's called USAID. And earlier, staffers got locked out of their headquarters in Washington as it gets rolled over into the State Department. The agency is supposed to oversee humanitarian development and security programs in some 120 countries and is in charge of over $70 billion of your taxpayer money. But the Trump administration argues it has become a clown car of corruption. And Musk sums it up this way, quote, USAID is a criminal organization, time for it to die. So Musk had a busy weekend too, Greg.
Yeah, this is pretty incredible. You can always judge the deception of something by the name and what the name tries to mislead you into believing. USAID is not about aid any more than the Marx Brothers wrote the Communist Manifesto. It's just the name, but it tricks you. And if you're lazy like me, you just assume, oh, it's all about aid. The beauty of this new administration is that it forces you to learn about stuff that you didn't really want to. Like, I didn't know what a de minimis loophole was. It sounds like a cross stitch or something, but it's like a huge deal. It's a massive deal for small businesses because China ships 1.4 billion packages, through this loophole that are made under sweatshops for very low money. That stops. USAID, if you read about it, it's basically seems to me like it's a front group that gives money to groups to do things that our government can't do directly.
Right.
So it sounds a lot like NGOs and illegal immigration. All that money was going there. And if you look at what they're connected to, you find out that USAID also doubles back into our country, whether it's Soros-funded prosecutors. Of course, the worst thing, EcoHealth Alliance, which was behind the COVID virus, and perhaps the pro-Hamas protesters who we're still trying to figure out the money. So I like to look at who's complaining and then work backward. You might see a thread between the loudest voices and the beast behind it. I'm already looking at the Harold Ford Handsome Modeling School because I don't think that's real. So when people were screaming this was a threat to democracy, it really was a threat to bureaucracy. And the fear that it's instilled by just saying, open your books, that tells you everything. If you're terrified by showing us how you spend your money, then we know you're a crook.
Handsome Harold, your name was invoked. You can respond.
So the conflating, I agree with Greg in a big part, but you conflating what Elon Musk did over the weekend when he wanted access to the Treasury Department materials and asking for USAID to shut down are two different things. He's not a government employee, and for him to ask for those payments and to understand how that payment process system works, I think was just wrong. I think he won't win a personality contest, but he will certainly win a smarts contest and intellectual contest. I think slimming down government and continuing to make it effective or allowing it to be made effective, he personifies that. He has saved us money with his efforts to get us to space and explore. We're spending less with him and doing more. That should be the model. Just firing people and asking for materials. President Trump, I know he wants Elon to be a big part of this, but Elon Musk, who derives most of his income today from government contracts, which is nothing is wrong with that, he shouldn't have access as a non-government employee to these things. If this were a Democrat and they put Jeffrey Katzenberg or they decided to put another Democrat in charge of helping to slim down the cost of government, and they did it this way, I would be critical of them, saying you can't do it this way if you want to ensure that that it's going to have credibility. On USAID, I'm not here to defend all of it, but I do know this. There have been 20 global health outbreaks over the last many years that they have partnered with partners to try to ensure they didn't get to American soil.
How much did they cause?
Malaria and polio on the continent of Africa and other places that are hard to reach, they have been integral in helping to do that. Now, I don't disagree with the things that they probably should not be doing, but we should not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And this is an organization that has existed for a long time. Yep. If you can slim it down and make it effective, let's do it. But I think Mr. Musk and President Trump ought to take a step back here and not be so, what some may say is being a little vindictive towards some of these organizations.
You know what? Here's the problem. U.S. taxpayer monies should go for U.S. national interests, okay? To the extent that there are U.S. national interests supported by this USA organization that in 2023 spent $43 billion on global humanitarian operations. If we spent some of that money on our senior citizens, on our veterans, on people in the hurricane areas, the problem with this is that this clearly, I don't care how long this agency has existed, we need information, we need transparency, and a 90-day pause should not be a problem for the Democrats who are always supporting transparency. No agency should be free of being monitored, and these special interests end up taking over when no one is monitoring. And then when they think that no one is looking, it inevitably leads to corruption. I mean, that's how you see in something that was started out positively turns out to end up being a criminal organization. When no one's looking, that's a problem.
But there's no evidence, Judge, this is a criminal
organization.
Okay.
Let me finish. This country, this group has given money mostly to, like an NGO, to Ukraine, Ethiopia, Jordan, Somalia, Syria. What is all this about? And part of this stuff is drag shows in Ecuador, atheism in Nepal, trans comic books in Peru. So, let's keep tallying that up. That doesn't do anything for my country.
Well, we're funding atheism
in Nepal.
In Nepal, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
So we've been talking a little bit about how Democrats are finding ways to funnel money to their causes. Okay, and this might be another place for that. So I'm okay with a pause. I do think that there are some great things that actually do help a president with national security issues for health diplomacy, for example. I think it's smart. Sports diplomacy can also be very smart. And we're really the only country in the world that people want to be like anyway. So I get that. I think putting Rubio in charge of it is a smart decision. But if you think about what the Biden administration was bragging about before they left, they were trying to get as much money out the door as possible. And they were sending it to lots of different things, green energy subsidy type things, but also, trans issues in Honduras. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't get to you what Harold was talking about, which were meritorious. Polio, malaria, things like that make a lot of sense. Some of these other things get people upset, and I can understand why. I don't think Sesame Street in Iraq's probably a good use of taxpayer dollars. Like, I get that. So again, I think a pause is appropriate, but that Rubio will be somebody smart to be able to handle decisions. My last point on this is, it's not like these guys were coming up with this on their own. Look to Congress. And several of these things that we've talked about before, every block of this show, Congress is derelict in its duty. Or they're shoving things into these big omnibus bills, for example, Sesame Street in Iraq. Is that people don't come up with this out of thin air. Congress has a responsibility here, and they've basically been absent.
But guys, just one question. The president has every right to do that, but he can't pause a law that Congress spends the money. If he wants to do this, he should zero out their budgets next year. No president has the power to say, I didn't like what the other president did, so I'm going to pause the spending myself. But presidents have the power to go to Congress and pass laws and undo it. What he's doing, this is a violation of the separation of powers. And I want President Trump to succeed, but I want the country to last longer. And you can't do this particular way, Judge, I don't believe.
All I hear is Harold saying, I want Sesame Street in Iraq. That's all I hear from him. That's basically what he said.
Can you tell me how to get it?
Up next, anti-ICE protesters are shutting down our freeways and burning the American flag.